Hello and welcome to 4 Reasons for Underperformance, a brief e-coaching session. My name is Paul Puckridge. It's my pleasure to welcome you today, and there's my mobile phone number. If I can assist you, then please feel free to reach out to me. Are you ready? Then let's start. Underperformance can be stressful for the manager and for the person who is not performing. Let's remember that. Although you're stressed, having that conversation, the person who you're having it with is probably more stressed than you are. There are primarily 4 reasons as to why someone is going to underperform. When we understand this, it puts performance management in a bit more perspective. Reason number 1 is they can't do the work. Their heart isn't in it. Now, there's a couple of things to say here. There are some people who just simply do not have either a technical ability or the desire to be able to do the work in the long term. Now, this is not attitude. This is just simply either an inability to do the work, even if they have a qualification, or their heart isn't in it. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, I was teaching a group of graduate engineers. Now, these young men and women were about a month out of university. They had just joined one large engineering organization, and I was running a conference for them. At the end of the day, a young man came up to me and said, "Paul, thank you for coming today. I think you've clarified in my mind that I shouldn't be here." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, Paul, funnily enough, I graduated with honors from my engineering degree, but I just don't like engineering. I can do it, but I just don't like it. It doesn't stimulate me." And I said to him, well, why did you do engineering? And he said, well, my father was an engineer and my grandfather was an engineer, and I guess everyone expected me to be an engineer. And I said, well, what do you think you should do? And he said, well, I want to go back to university and do another course. And I said to him, well, that seems like a big commitment to go back to university for 3 or 4 more years. And we had a conversation. Now, as it turned out, his behavioral profile was that of what we call an iron influencer. So even though he technically could do all the engineering work, it just wasn't him. His strength was in sales and marketing. And so I said to him, well, within your organization, surely there's a marketing department, like a pre-sales department that sells these products, these engineering products. Anyway, to cut a long story short, a little while ago, I met him, and he's now a manager, and he's now managing a sales team within this organization. You see, he knew very early on, even within a month of joining, that even though he had the qualifications, it wasn't him. He could do it, but his heart wasn't in it. And occasionally you will meet people who underperform, and the reason they're underperforming is it's just not who they are. Or even though they've got a qualification, somehow they just struggle to do this work. Can you think of people in those situations? And maybe as younger people, we've all had jobs to get us through our study, and we worked in a cafe. I know I worked in a lumber mill, and I hated it. It was money, but it wasn't me. That doesn't mean that the job was beneath me, but it means that wasn't my special gift. That wasn't my skill. Number 2, they don't know how to do the work. Some people are employed, and even though on their job description it says that they have a qualification or they can do certain things, you realize very early on they can't. Number 3, something is hindering them. There's 2 sorts of hindrances. One is internal, something happening at work. It could be bullying, it could be too much work, it could be poor conditions, poor equipment, over management or under management. And then there are things outside of work, such as partners, children, money, health, family issues, dependencies, bad habits, and the like. These are things that can cause a person personal harm, and then when they get to work, it's troubling them, and of course that affects their performance. And finally, attitude, which could mean refusal or insubordination. In other words, the person is quite capable of doing the work, but they think it's beneath them. They believe someone else should be doing it. Why should I have to do this task? And of course, number 4, as we'll learn in a following training session, is often one of the harder things to have conversations about. They're the more uncomfortable ones. But we will get there on our next coaching session. So before we finish up today, let me share a quote with you. As a leader, don't let someone's poor performance hinder your commitment to holding them to higher standards. Before we finish today, did you have an aha from this short webinar? Was there something that you learnt? If so, what was it? Write it down. That's the end of this session. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to providing you a new coaching session very soon. Until we talk together, please enjoy every success.